Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I have a really exciting match for you. So this is my top 8 set from Philadelphia VGC Regionals, and what's really exciting about this is I'm actually going to be commentating over the live feed. So this was basically recorded as we were playing, so you see team preview, you're gonna see each of us actually take turns for each of our plays, and that kind of allows me to go through my thought process a bit more, because normally I just commentate through the battle videos, but I don't nearly have as much time to say everything I want, so I'm really excited to be doing this. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to capture my final Swiss rounds or my top 16 set because I was so busy playing and I was just trying to stay focused. But basically, I finished with a 7-2 record in Swiss, which was good enough for the top 16 thanks to my resistance. I won in the top 16 in a really close set against Patrick Donegan, 2-1, and now I was one of 8 players remaining at Philadelphia Regionals. So I have this and a bunch of other live sets that I'll be commentating over, and of course if you guys enjoy them, definitely leave a like. I'm always interested in your feedback as well, because it's kind of interesting to be doing solo commentary on things like this. But let's get on to the actual match. So Nick's team you see is very rain oriented with Ludicolo, Garchomp, Mawile, Talonflame, Hydreigon, Politoed. I figured Solomon's Gothitelle was the safest lead I could have against him because it would threaten and KO the one thing that really beats my Gothitelle, which was his Hydreigon. So I decided to lead with those two, and I have Mawile and Rotom Heat in the back. Now you're probably asking, why are you bringing Rotom Heat to a rain matchup? And I said, well, this is a best of 3, right? So I kind of have leeway as to what I want to bring, and Rotom Heat is one of the best checks to his Mawile, and Mawile is one of the 2 Pokemon on his team that really threaten me, the other being the Hydreigon. So I want to have as many checks to the Pokemon that give me the most issue. So here I lead with Solomon's and Gothitelle against his Mawile and Ludicolo, which is already a pretty good start for me because I get the Intimidate off on his Mawile, while his Mawile's Intimidate is rendered useless. Now, I'm in a pretty good position on the first turn. I figure there are 2 plays my opponent can make. Fake Out is definitely coming from Ludicolo, or Ice Beam. So the 2 plays I expect are Fake Out and Play Rough, both onto Salamence, or Protect Mawile, Ice Beam the Salamence slot. I do not expect that Mawile to be attacking unless the Ludicolo is using a Fake Out, and I figure I can make a pretty safe switch into Mawile, my own Mawile here on the first turn. So I choose my moves pretty quickly because I decide there's no reason to Fire Blast Mawile carelessly on the first turn, because I'm probably either just going to get Faked Out Play Roughed or Ice Beam to KO. And I don't think he's going to just Fake Out my Gothitelle and Play Rough my Salamence, because otherwise that would allow me to get a Fire Blast off and KO his Mawile. So I switch it to Mawile. You know, I definitely had the lead advantage there, and it allows me to make some plays. And, like, I was really not expecting him to, you know, Scald and Iron Head that slot, because obviously Salamence is such an offensive threat. And when I see the Mawile Protect, I'm really, really happy. Of course, choosing not to Mega Evolve to save the Intimidate, but in this match, especially against Gothitelle, not going to be very helpful. Ludicolo does go for that predicted Ice Beam, so he did go for one of the 2 plays I anticipated. And fortunately enough, it does not freeze, and I'm able to set up Trick Room for free with my Gothitelle. Now his Mawile is already at -2 attack, which is a really good start for me. Of course, my Gothitelle carries Tickle as well, so this turn seems like a pretty obvious play for me. Play Rough Ludicolo, Tickle Mawile. Ludicolo often does not carry Protect because it goes with Fake Out, Ice Beam, Giga Drain, and Hydro Pump or Scald. Of course, most Ludicolos in VGC 2014 carry Assault Vest, so it's very, very rare to go for the Protect, and I know I can basically pick up a free knockout on that slot while increasing to decrease his Mawile's attack and defense. I'm not really worried about his Mawile. You know, my Mawile actually does not carry Iron Head, but when you decrease a Mawile's attack each turn, it's just not going to do very much. You know, the damage is going to decrease with every turn, and at -2 already, it's already pretty weak. So both of our Mawiles Mega Evolve now. There's no reason not to. You know, one important thing is you should actually not Mega Evolve a Mawile unless you're going to be attacking, because otherwise you can conserve your Intimidate. So he goes for the Iron Head onto Mawile, and he's actually slower than me, aka faster than me under Trick Room, but my Mawile is actually 31 Speed IV, so that's not surprising. Gothitelle gets that Tickle off against his Mawile, meaning it will decrease his attack and defense by another stage, and like I said, I will be able to pick up a free knockout on Ludicolo. There wasn't much need to make any predictions that turn, and that's one of the beautiful things about Gothitelle Mawile. You can really expect what your opponent's going to do. You know, once you set up Trick Room, a lot of the times you know what Pokemon carries Protect, what Pokemon doesn't carry Protect, etc. Now here he brings in Garchomp, and Garchomp's definitely threatening, but I'm not too scared about it. for a bunch of reasons. One, if his Garchomp wants to attack, it means that he's going to have to protect Mawile and Earthquake, because otherwise Garchomp's not going to be able to do anything. And two, I can just one-hit KO his Garchomp with a Play Rough. There's still 3 more turns of Trick Room left, so even if that Garchomp protects, and protects again, I'll still be able to pick up a knockout on it. At this point, the only thing I was really fearing on that Garchomp is a Focus Sash. But I already feel really good about my position, especially seeing how he had not brought in a Politoed. And I figured his last one would probably be Hydreigon at this point. His Mawile on this next turn goes for the Iron Head onto my Gothitelle. Even at -3 attack, still does a fairly good amount. I figured I could just tickle his Mawile here and Play Rough the Garchomp, even if he protected with Garchomp, as his Mega Mawile's attack decreases each turn. I feel like I'm in a pretty good position. Now, unfortunately, I actually missed my Play Rough, which is pretty big, especially as you see that Garchomp has a Life Orb, because it means I basically missed out on a free KO there. But that's one of the drawbacks to using Play Rough. Such a powerful attack, but of course, it's prone to missing. So, I still have 2 more turns of Trick Room left, and that Garchomp did not protect last turn, which means that even if he protects this turn, on my last turn of Trick Room, I'll be able to knock it out with Play Rough. And of course, my Gothitelle carries Rest. So I continue to target that Garchomp slot with Play Rough, because even if he protects, there's not much his Mawile can do at -4 attack, as Gothitelle actually gets the rest off before his Mawile moves, eats that Chesto Berry up, and heals all the way back up to full HP. His Mawile goes for a Play Rough onto the Gothitelle, but now at -4 attack, not going to do very much, as my Mawile gets the Play Rough against his Garchomp and picks up the one-hit KO. So, I was kind of surprised to see my opponent not protect throughout the turns with Garchomp, but fortunately enough, I just targeted twice and it paid off. It would have been a lot better if it hit the last turn, but I'm not complaining. I was surprised to see him not protect, but I made the play knowing that even if he did protect, I'd still be fine off. So now I'm up 4-2 against a Mawile and Hydreigon, and 1 more turn of Trick Room left. Trick Room turns have counted pretty perfectly for me, and it's the moment of truth to figure out what item that Hydreigon has. Most Hydreigons, I assume, just carry the Choice Specs item, so I'm curious to see whether he actually has Protect or not. His Mawile goes for a Play Rough, misses my Gothitelle, but it really doesn't matter at this point, as it is at -4 attack, now -5 attack, and -3 defense. As you see, his Hydreigon did not go for a Protect, so that indicates to me that he indeed is Choice Specs, or Choice Scarfed even, but Choice Specs was the most likely assumption, as I pick up a free KO with Play Rough there. So, 4-1 at this point. My game plan worked out perfectly. Salamence intimidated the Mawile right from the start, which decreases attack. That was vital to basically decrease its attack throughout the course of the game. And I basically knew that even though Mawile's one of the bigger threats on his team, I could basically just keep on tickling it, and here Play Rough actually picks up the one-hit KO on opposing Mega Mawile, which is nuts, of course at -3 defense, and I win the game 4-0. So, obviously this is a best-of-3 set, and when you take the first game with such confidence like that, it really boosts, your confidence going into the next 2 games. I thought I played the game pretty well for the most part. Perhaps I should have got him a bit fancier and predicted a Protect from that Garchomp, but as you saw, the Garchomp actually did not Protect, so I feel like I made the safest plays each turn, basically the plays that allowed for me to maximize my potential while not losing anything out of it. For example, the first turn, almost lost my Salamence for free had I stayed in, but instead the Mawile switch out was huge and it paid off. So really good first game for me, and I'm feeling quite confident going into the second game. I figured Salamence is still a pretty good Pokemon to have going in for game 2, but then I, think about it a bit more, and I realized maybe I should lead with my Hariyama instead, because while leading Salamence is great, it won't allow me to get Trick Room up for free with Fake Out, and I figure he might actually go with, say, a Ludicolo Hydreigon lead, which allows him to get a Fake Out and Dark Pulse my Gothitelle. And I figure, okay, Hariyama has a pretty good matchup against most of my opponent's team. If he decides to lead with anything other than Talonflame or Mawile, Hariyama will do a really fine job. And even if he leads with those two, I can still Fake Out one of the two, and let's say I lose my Hariyama on the first turn, but I get Trick Room up for free. That's actually one of the biggest advantages to my team. A lot of the times I would bait a KO. For example, I would get a Draco Meteor off with Salamence, KO Pokemon, he'd KO me back with Ice Beam, and then I'd be able to switch in Mawile for free. So even though Talonflame and Mawile really threaten Hariyama, the most important thing is Fake Out. Fake Out's really the name of the game here, and if I can get the Trick Room up once again, I know I can just blow through my opponent's team. Nick really did not have very many good checks to a Trick Room, as you saw in the first game, and Mawile kind of just ran through his team. So I decided I would probably stick with that. In the back, I figured I would have Mawile once again, obviously, Berry, and I believe Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat, of course, still really good in this matchup despite the rain, because it can burn the Mawile, it can overheat the Mawile, it can Thunderbolt the Talonflame. It walls Talonflame pretty well as well. It actually does not get KO'd by Politoed because I'm so specially defensive. So I feel pretty good about being Rotom Heat as long as I can play the game smartly. So I'm really happy when he leads with Ludicolo and Hydreigon for a bunch of reasons. Now, one, as you know, my Gothitelle is EV to take a Choice Specs Dark Pulse from Modest Hydreigon. So I know on the first turn, I'm basically guaranteed either a KO or Trick Room up for free. At this point, I can make a bunch of plays. Gothitelle is definitely going for Trick Room, no doubt. But Hariyama, the question is whether I fake out the Hydreigon in close combat. I believe I close combat here because I just wanted to pick up the KO. And I guess the biggest play that could have threatened me was a fake out onto the Gothitelle and a Dark Pulse. And the reason why I close combated instead of faking out is because, let's say we both ended up faking out. His Ludicolo fakes out my Hariyama, I fake out his Hydreigon. Or excuse me, his Ludicolo fakes out my Gothitelle. Then the next turn, he can just double up into my Gothitelle for a KO, and I definitely did not want that to happen. When you're in situations like this, you basically want to pick up KOs as quickly as possible or set up Trick Room, but it looks like I actually did go for the fake out with Hariyama. So I probably should have close combated there, but I was actually anticipating the fake out. A lot of people don't know that max special defense Gothitelle can survive that Dark Pulse and set up Trick Room, and he was definitely caught off guard by that. So the first turn plays out perfectly. It's one of the beautiful things about this team. You know, you kind of bait the fake out onto Hariyama, set up Trick Room, and then next turn Hariyama just close combats Hydreigon for a one-hit KO. So that played out really, really well for me, and I know I can get a rest up with Gothitelle this following turn. Had he flinched there with Dark Pulse, so that's one of the most annoying things. I actually would have been in a pretty darn bad position. Fortunately enough, he did not get the flinch. So, first turn playing out pretty okay for me. I basically got the Trick Room I was looking at to set up, and this next turn is basically going to be a free turn, as I know the Hydreigon is Choice Specs based off that damage output, and I know it doesn't carry Protect from the last game. So I can close combat Hydreigon, rest with Gothitelle, and instantly take a 4-3 lead. Ludicolo is annoying to deal with, but it's not really going to do very much against a very bulky Hariyama and Gothitelle. Both of my Pokemon were very specially defensive built, even to survive Modest Choice Specs Draco Meteor from Hydreigon, so it can take most attacks from a normal Ludicolo, especially as Rain is not up right now. So I get the close combat off, I pick up the one-hit KO on his Hydreigon, and my Gothitelle gets that nifty rest up, heals all the way back up to full HP, eating that Chesto Berry, and waking up. So this was a scenario that happened a lot when I was testing for Worlds, actually, since I use this core so much, and you're kind of seeing it play out right now. He goes for the Scald, and actually gets the burn, which is kind of scary, because the residual damage is going to pick up in the next couple of turns, so I was not too happy when that happened, but obviously Scald has an amazing burn chance, and at this point when I use Scald, or when I see my opponent use Scald, I'm just expecting it to burn. So I have a 4-3 lead now, but it's not nearly as much of a lead as I had the previous game. Here he brings in his Mawile, and this time his Mawile comes in for free. In the previous game, I intimidated his Mawile right from the start with Salamence and was able to switch out into my own Mawile to intimidate him even more, but now he's got basically a full power play rough coming my way. I know that I have Rotom Heat and Mawile back in the back basically, and I know that those two can beat anything on his team, so at this point I don't want to switch out, because if I make the wrong switch and he predicts me, say with an Iron Head Scald onto one of the Pokemon, and I switch it to Mawile and I lose Mawile right away, I know that's really, really bad. And at this point Hariyama's done his job. It KO'd the Hydreigon, it set up Trick Room for my Gothitelle, it's done everything I needed to do. So I'm actually going to stay in with both my Pokemon, knowing that if he targets the Hariyama, I'll get a free switch-in, or Gothitelle. If he does not target them, then I'll just be able to get free damage off against that Ludicolo. So, you see here, I actually almost run out of time. It takes me the full 45 seconds. I was kind of just thinking through all my options. Of course, you get a 45-second timer limit in VGC matches. If you run out, the game automatically chooses moves for you. And at this point, you know, I have such a big lead in Game 2 as well. I want to make sure I close out the game. So, I'm just making the safest plays possible. Now, Hariyama is the slowest Pokemon on the field, so it gets the close combat off against his Ludicolo. I actually outspeed his Mawile. We speed tied throughout this the course of the set, and I get the Tickle off, which is really, really big. You guys saw how much tickling Mawile helped out in the first game, and now in the second game it's still doing work. Here he goes for the play rough onto Gothitelle. Does not pick up the KO, but it is in Scald range, which he obviously picks up the KO. He told me right after that he did not think play rough would do that much to Gothitelle, which is why he double targeted it. And that's even better for me because it means Hariyama will be able to stay for even longer amount of time. I was fully ready to lose both of my Pokemon that turn, knowing that I have Mawile and Rotom Heat in the back, but instead I actually only lose my Gothitelle, which is even better for me because I still have one of my sweepers. Now it's Hariyama, Mawile, and a Rotom Heat in the back. And I figure his Mawile at this point is at -2 attack, -1 defense. He probably could knock out Hariyama, but once that Ludicolo goes down, the Mawile is not going to be able to change its stats. Of course, Mawile can still switch out at this point if it wants to negate the stat drops, but if my opponent chooses to do that, that will give me a lot of momentum in terms of attacking. Right now, obviously, Hariyama is free to get another close combat off. Like I said in the first game, that Ludicolo does not carry Protect, so if I just play Rough the Slot, I'm guaranteed either a KO or a ton of damage to whatever's in the back, and the only real terrain that can kind of take a play rough in the back is his Talonflame. But I actually go for the Sucker Punch here. In retrospect, that play does not make too much sense. I think going for the play rough would have just been safer, but the reason why is because I was actually anticipating maybe a Talonflame switch in, so I Sucker Punch and Rock Slide there. I figure if he does not stay in and he switches out to Talonflame, I get a free KO. In retrospect, I was kind of playing a bit ballsy there. I think I could have just play rough that slot. Even if he had Talonflame, I'd be able to do over 50% with play rough. So, it ended up working out, but I don't think Sucker Punch was the right play there. Play rough would have allowed free damage, but I think at the time I was just really afraid of missing, because obviously we saw in the first game how I missed play rough on Garchomp, and that nearly could have bit me in the butt, but fortunately enough not. So now the game is 3-2 in my favor, and I know I have Rotom Heat in the back, and I feel like, okay, if I lose this game, that would be a true shame, because Rotom Heat beats both Talonflame and Mawile one-on-one. His Talonflame goes for the Brave Bird onto my Hariyama, because he saw that I had Rock Slide the last turn, does not want to get Rock Slided, but I actually carry Rock Slide on both of my Pokemon, Mawile and the Hariyama. Fortunately enough, Iron Head does not flinch here. My Mawile does connect Rock Slide with the Talonflame and picks up the KO, and now it's Mawile and Rotom Heat against his Mawile, which obviously Rotom Heat's going to be able to win. So I kind of saved the Rotom Heat knowing and anticipating like he'd probably have Mawile and even Talonflame in the back, and it plays out pretty perfectly when I see the Mawile and Talonflame in the back. So once again, the power of Trick Room Mawile was basically able to run through his team. Hariyama was really clutch in basically baiting the Fake Out onto it the first turn. Of course, Gothitelle being able to take that Dark Pulse 100% of the time instead of Trick Room is awesome. Here Mawile goes for the Sucker Punch, doesn't even KO my own Mawile. I miss my Will-O-Wisp, interestingly enough, but Mawile gets to play rough and picks up the KO. So, I managed to beat Nicholas 2-0 in the set, and that means I'll be advancing to the top 4 at Philadelphia Regionals. I hope you guys enjoyed the set. Definitely leave a like if you appreciated the live commentary, and I'll be uploading the future games and sets in the upcoming days. So, until then, I'll see you next time. Peace.